The secret to crack CAT is taking a lot of mocks. We at Kraku give all the previous year's CAT, XAT and IFT papers in the actual exam format. Also, if you just Google Kraku free CAT mock, you can find 3 free CAT mocks in the latest exam pattern. You can take them and get detailed analysis.
Hi friends, welcome to Kraku's video series. I'm Saili Kale. I'm one of the co-founders of Kraku and an alumna of IIM Ahmedabad. In today's video, we are going to take a look at how to prepare for CAT in 3 months. So this is something a lot of students ask me, is it possible to prepare for CAT in 3 months? Would I be able to crack? I'm just starting right now. So in this video, I'm going to basically discuss it for students who are just starting about right now. If you have been working for CAT for the last few months, then this is not the right video for you. Here I'm looking at those people who are just about starting out without any prior preparation as such. Who are starting from basics at the moment, and they are wondering if 3 months is too short a time to actually crack CAT. So for them, I'd like to say that it is not too short a time to crack CAT. See, basically think of it as that the CAT syllabus is a distance you have to cover. Now, whether or not you will be able to cover the distance depends upon where you start and how much time you are ready to give to cover the distance. So if you are starting from the very basics, you have absolutely no idea. You need to put in more time, more effort, but essentially it is very doable. It's not impossible, nor is it very difficult task. I know students who can crack CAT even in a month's time as such. So it depends entirely on your ability where you are starting off from, your abilities as such, how much time you are ready to put in, how hardworking you are. If you are doing all things right, 3 months is ample time to crack CAT. If you work hard, work smart also, it's more than enough time to actually crack CAT. So let us actually think of how we can, if you're just beginning, you have to first think of how you actually should, how you should prepare for CAT, what plan you should make, and what you should be doing in case this is where you're starting off. So first things first, is you should have a plan in mind. See, basically what happens is that whenever people have a little bit of time left or less time that is required, you need to have a plan in place so that you don't waste time. Because if you start off every day thinking, okay, what am I supposed to be doing today, you're wasting time every single day. Instead, if you spend one day thinking of the entire plan for the next 3 months, writing down that plan, saying, okay, this is going to be my schedule for September, this is going to be my schedule for October, this is going to be my schedule for November. If you start off from that kind of a frame of mind, then it will be much faster, because you won't be spending time every single day trying to decide what you should be doing. And even in such cases, you will be more focused. And if you actually skip any particular concepts or any particular day, you will immediately know that, because then you will have backlog as such to clear. So always make sure that if you are just starting about now, you should have a plan in place. Kraku teaches a lot of crash courses and shorter duration batches as such. So we have a 3 months batch. So in that, I have prepared a schedule for what you should be doing if you have 3 months to crack CAT. And essentially, I have given what are the like for each day, okay, saying that, okay, this is if you are studying starting from like say 25th August or started studying from 27th, like from this day, on this day you need to be studying this particular topic. So if you have that in front of you, it's for our premium students. We give all the resources that you require to actually study. So if you follow that schedule, you'll also get the reading material as such. But even if you're not a premium subscriber of Kraku, you can just take a look at that schedule and you can follow that schedule for free. That schedule is free as such. The reading resources might be premium, but the schedule is for free. So even if you're not a premium student of Kraku, what you can actually do is make sure you follow that schedule. So what you should, that schedule basically keeps in mind what things are important to do, what you should be doing first. And it also keeps in mind that you have very little time and you should be, how much time you should be spending each day, and how many tasks you should be completing each day. So if you either you follow that schedule, or you can come up with your own personal schedule based upon your own personal strengths and weaknesses as such. But make sure that before you start off with your preparation, just sit one day, say that, okay, I have to complete these many things. This is the amount of time I have starting today. I'll try to put this in an Excel sheet or in some Google sheet or whatever, and form a schedule in front of you so that you know that, okay, every day I have to complete these particular tasks. If you do not do this basic step, you are going to find this 3 months evaporate in no time, and you will not get the desired result. If you want to make full, absolute, complete use of these 3 months that are in front of you, make sure you have a plan ready. Otherwise, it's going to be very, very difficult to make sure that you get the full benefit of these 3 months. You can work for the entire period of 3 months, or you can get 50% effort in or 30% effort in. But if you want to give your absolute 100%, you need a plan before you go in. So that is the first thing. First thing is make a plan. You can copy ours, print it out, put it in your study space. So this is something that this is a productivity hack that I always do, is that I print out things that I have to do. You can either put a weekly schedule or a monthly schedule, print it out and put it up in your study space, because it should be visually in front of you. If it's not visually in front of you, it's going to be a case of out of sight, out of mind. If you don't see that plan every single day, you're not going to follow it. So make sure that whatever plan that you form, whatever you decide, this is the schedule I'm going to follow, print it out, put it in front of you. If you're not very confident of how to actually make the schedule, just do one basic thing. Take an old calendar and just in that calendar write down for each day what you plan to cover in it. Very simple, and pin it up in front of you in your study space. Very, very important that you have things in front of you as such. Another thing that works for me, which is a productivity hack, is basically every day that I finish everything that all the tasks that I was supposed to do, I put a tick in the calendar as such. So what it does is, it basically, whenever I see my calendar, I see a chain of ticks. So this is something that I learned recently, which is like called the Seinfeld method. So if you see this chain of ticks, it helps you understand that it motivates you essentially. So this basically comes from Jerry Seinfeld. So he is a comedian. He wrote a very successful show as such, and he was asked, how did you actually write so many jokes? It is a very difficult to turn in good work day in and day out. So he said that he followed a basic method as such, where he would his basic task every day was that he should write one joke every single day. So what he would do is that he would sit down and he would write a joke. Every day that he wrote a joke, he would put a tick or a mark on the cross mark on the calendar as such in front of him. Now when he saw that calendar, he would see a long row or chain of cross marks. So his everyday motivation would be that I should not break this chain of cross marks. So even in the same way, you should also feel that I will complete every task every day, so that I can put a tick mark and I'll get a long tick of chain of tick marks, and I should not break this chain as such. So this will keep you motivated, keep you going to turn in every single day and put in the work that is required. Consistency is key over here. You do not have the time to slack off. You do not have the time to take off days. You must make sure that whatever schedule that you have to stick to it every single day as such. Make sure you do that that every single day that you complete all the tasks. Put a tick mark so that you see, okay, there's a long line of tick marks. I have done my work every single day, and that will actually keep you motivated. I should not break this chain of tick marks, because it's looking really good. If I keep making it longer, it is going to make me feel very good about myself as such. So these are basically visual motivators that you can use to keep to a schedule. But important thing, make a schedule, stick to it. Okay, now I'll basically the thing that is different from you as compared to most other students who have started say 6 months back or in December. There are many students who start in December, many students who start around April, May. The main difference between them and you is that you have lesser time on your hands, lesser duration of time, but not necessarily, it is not necessarily the case that you're going to put in less time in, because essentially even if you have 3 months, if you put in 4 hours every day, you're essentially going to end up putting in more time than those who started in December. So you have to decide how much time you're going to put in every single day, and your schedule should reflect that. If you put in only an hour a day, 3 months would you'd barely make much of a difference as such. 2 hours a day, good amount of time. If you do it consistently, you can get very good results. 3 hours, 4 hours, excellent results are possible even with 4 hours, only with 3 months left as such. So make sure that you put in time consistently and put in 3 hours or 4 hours a day every single day as such. So now that I have told you what you need to do, what plan you need to do, I'll get into the topic of actually what you should think of when you're actually forming the plan. In case you're forming your own plan, what you need to do is you need to prioritize. So this is a tale that is often told of big stones, small stones and sand. Okay, so the tale is basically like this, where a professor brings in a mason jar and he brings in some big stones, some small stones and some sand, and he asks students that try to fit these in your jar as such. The students who try to fill in it with first with sand, then with the small stones and then with the big stones, see that they can't fit everything in the jar as such. The students who begin by putting the big stones first, then the small stones and then the sand, see that they are able to fill it completely and everything fits in. Now the basic lesson here is that if you do your big tasks first, the basic fundamental parts first, so the biggest aspects of your life, your preparation, everything first, you first put those in, then you put the smaller tasks in, and finally you put in the sand, which is the details. So your CAT preparation is no different. Do the big chunk of the parts that are the biggest portions of your syllabus first. Make sure you get them absolutely right. You can't leave them for later. You can't leave them halfway done. It is just does not make sense not to prioritize those particular sections. So make sure that you identify which are the big rocks as far as CAT preparation is concerned, and you make sure that you prioritize them over the smaller parts of CAT preparation. So I'll tell you in each section what are the biggest parts. So in quants you have arithmetic, which is the big stone. You can skip geometry and get 95 percentile plus. You can skip algebra and get 95 percentile, 90 percentile plus at least. You can skip number systems, you can skip PNC and get 95 percentile plus. But if you skip arithmetic, there is no way you're getting 95 percentile plus, not even 90 percentile plus. It is like 14 questions as such out of 34. There is just no way you can skip that and do well in CAT. So it's the biggest stone as far as CAT quant is concerned. You have to make sure that you put it in first, and that is going to take up most of your time. That is going to take up a decent amount of your time for your preparation, but please put in that time. Please make sure that you are very, very good at this. The smaller stones or the next bigger stones essentially would be algebra and geometry. These are also big stones. You can't skip them. Now the order which you do it first, algebra or geometry, depends on you. If you're more comfortable with algebra, especially students with engineering background are very comfortable with algebra, do that first. If you're more comfortable with geometry, do that. Essentially these are both important because they contribute 5 to 8 questions in geometry is 5 questions, or algebra can be more. But because they are the next biggest topic, make sure that you do these topics as well. The important thing to remember over here is that these are also not only they are like the next highest topic. These are often the most difficult questions in CAT. Geometry is very difficult. Algebra questions are also fairly difficult. So you should make sure that at least the basic questions from this topic you should do pretty easily and pretty well. For example, in geometry, you can get a simple question from geometry as well. In algebra, there are sections which are easier, like linear equations, quadratic equations. These are easier sections. You should be able to solve these questions fairly easily. You might not be able to solve very difficult polynomial questions, but you should be able to solve quadratic equations questions for sure. Similarly, you might not be able to solve questions on, say, octagons or higher order solids or anything of that sort, but you should be able to solve triangles questions fairly well. So basically make sure that even in these topics you should have areas of strength as such, and the basics should be clear, the fundamentals should be clear. Because if you see geometry, circles and triangles will make up 80% of the questions that come from geometry. Out of the 5 questions, at least 4 will be triangles and geometry. So make sure that you do those questions, those sections, particular subsections of these topics very, very well. Now comes the smaller stones. The smaller stones are modern math, so that is functions, logarithms and surds, indices, and basically all of these are firstly, they are fairly formula driven. Even functions might surprise you that they are formula driven, but there are a good number of tricks to actually solve functions questions, and once you start seeing them that this is the pattern that is followed, it becomes easier for you to solve. So in modern maths, basically just make sure that you see all the formulae, you learn all the formulae, especially for logarithms, because questions from this topic tend to be easier if you know the formula. It's like mostly generally it's like direct application of the formula. If you know the formula, you will get the answer correctly. If you don't remember this formula, you won't be able to answer the question. So if it's something that where you're weak in quant, I would suggest that after arithmetic, actually do a modern maths, because it is not difficult. Those are easier questions. Algebra questions, geometry questions tend to be on the harder side. So before that, try to finish modern maths off. Then you have your number systems and PNC. So if you are trying to fit in the big rocks first, make sure that you finish these parts first. So we'll take a look at each section individually, and I'll tell you which topics to cover first and which are absolutely must do and should be done properly. So because you have lesser time on your hands, you have to do the must do topics well. So that should be, you should have full concept coverage, plus you should have adequate practice in it. The smaller topics like number systems, I'll tell you which parts of it are important. The other parts of it which are less important, you should know the concept, but if you don't have a lot of practice, that is fine. So let us take a look at each of these things, what is absolutely must do and how much practice is required for each of them. So let's take a look at the quant strategy as first. So as I said that the biggest rock you have in quant strategy is arithmetic. So arithmetic should be the foundation of your attempt in quant as such. In this, basically you have to complete P&L, profit, loss and interest. This is a fairly simple topic. Ratio, averages, ratio, proportion and averages, time, speed, distance, work. So everything which is basic arithmetic as such, percentages, these are very, very simple questions in general. Most of the times you will feel that these are not really difficult as such. It requires less than 2 minutes to do. So the thing is that these are firstly easy questions for most people to handle, and they are like the most fundamental, least time consuming questions as such. So if you think of it, if you think that there are like in your CAT quant section, suppose out of 34 questions, 10 of them are say easy questions, at least 8 of these 10 questions would be from arithmetic. So this is one of those topics that you should definitely not skip out on at all. You should be very, very, very thorough with arithmetic. So you should have a very good handle on each of these topics. You should have adequate practice of it. All the concepts should be covered. It should be entirely done as such. So make sure that your entire arithmetic work is completely done. The next one that you should do is algebra. See, personally, I feel at times that geometry is slightly difficult for me, especially in whenever there's a time constraint. I feel that under time constraint, I'm not able to visualize things that well. Given no time constraint, I'm generally able to solve geometry questions better, often better than algebra, but under time constraints, I feel more comfortable with algebra. For many students, it might be the opposite. So decide where you are which you are more comfortable with, algebra or geometry, and tackle that first. In algebra, make sure that you have adequate practice of linear equations, very simple thing. Similarly, quadratic equations, it literally has very few concepts. If you master the concepts, you will be able to solve all questions from quadratic equations very well. We did we have videos on quadratic equations. There are like 4 videos, and we have exhaustively covered everything every variation that can be possibly asked on quadratic equations as such. So given that there are so few concepts, you should be like completely very, very good at this. Then you come into the higher order, this like polynomials, progressions and series. So these are slightly tougher questions, more difficult questions, more concepts to learn and remember. But nonetheless, it is important that you have adequate understanding of the concepts as well as practice of it. So here this is like must do concepts per se. You should do say at least 50, I would say 100 questions of each of these. Let's say 50 questions of each topic. Okay. Similarly, for linear equations, quadratic equations, it's also a must do with 50 questions or like say 30 questions of each topic. Polynomials, progressions and series concepts are concepts are must do, and say 30 questions. If I would say that polynomials, if you do lesser questions it's fine, but progressions and series is more important than polynomials. The thing with polynomials is I've seen that many students, even with a whole lot of practice, are not able to crack the polynomial under pressure in front of like in the actual exam scenario. So and the questions generally are very difficult for students who are struggling in quad. So first actually get progressions and series right, then come to polynomials. If you find polynomials hard, it's okay to leave it to for later, because generally like it's answering that polynomial question is like the difference between somebody who's scoring 97 percentile in CAT Quant and 99 percentile in CAT Quant. And if your overall objective is to get like 97 percentile in quant and like 99 percentile overall, if you are not very good in polynomials, if you are struggling in quant, don't waste a whole lot of time there. There are much easier things that you could do to actually do better in quant as such. Now you have geometry. So geometry is basically you have to make sure that you are absolutely rock solid in triangles and circles. Plus every single year there has been at least one question on mensuration of solids. So they have like the standard format where they mostly ask from triangles and circles, plus one question from mensuration of solids and one question from polygons. And if you are able to do those questions, this is like if you don't know all the formulas in polygons, I would say that do all the formulas in polygons, but if you don't have a whole lot of practice in polygons, that is fine. But it would be completely inexcusable if you don't know any part of triangles and circles or don't have enough practice in triangles and circles. This part is absolutely must do, and you should have at least, you should solve at least 50 triangles and circles kind of questions. Polygons questions, do one question of at least each type. So one or two questions on cones, two questions on right circular cylinder. So some amount of practice is absolutely needed there, but a whole lot of practice. If you have less time, you can skip out on that. More important is triangles and circles and mensuration of solids. Make sure that you know how to use each formula. Generally these are fairly simpler questions, and one question is definitely going to come on mensuration of solids, so you should know all the formulas as such. Then we come to modern maths. So in modern maths you have like functions, 2 to 3 questions on this. Logarithms, 2 to 3 questions. This has been a new trend actually. In earlier logarithms and functions questions would not come that often, but for the last 2 to 3 years, every single year both slots you are getting 2 to 3 questions, which means that they are actually actively looking to keep these kind of questions in. Now why is that the case? See, basically this is more formula driven, so it favors those who are prepared. So this, if you think of CAT as a mixture of both aptitude as well as preparation, there are sections which favor aptitude. For example, algebra, arithmetic favors aptitude. There are sections which favor hard work. For example, logarithms, functions, all of these favors actually hard work, because if you know certain aspects of, if you know the formula for logarithms, whether you are a very smart student or an average student, both of them will be able to solve it equally well. These are actually areas which actually favor students who are hardworking. So I see over time where if there is a focus on making sure that students are hardworking, are able to have prepared well, then they put more of these kind of questions, which mean that if you are somebody who struggles in quant, make sure that you do these kind of questions very well. You know all log formulae, you know all surds formulae, indices formulae, everything you know very well. How to handle functions. So we usually teach how to handle functions with like Cauchy's functional equations and modified Cauchy's functional equations. So if you are somebody who struggles in quant, make sure you know this very well, because these are essentially things that where if you remember the formula, you are able to solve the question as such. So these are things that you should do if you are struggling in quant as such. Now these are the basic things. Now the smaller things that you have to remember. See, number systems, just remember that number systems directly, the earlier when CAT was pen and paper based, there used to be quite a few number systems questions on remainders. Now that has gone away quite a bit. Now the questions that do come, and quite a few, 2 to 3 questions come on number systems, but they are not on remainders. They are basically on like HCF LCM or figuring out what the number is. So just basic understanding of divisibility of numbers, formulation of like what the number is, base systems, all of these actually essentially are the things that are now being tested, which are essentially logic based number systems as such, more than like formulas of remainder theorems. You have to have a very good understanding of the fundamentals of number systems as such. So that is very important. Actually remember to do that before you do like number systems factors. Remember to do this part, HCF, LCM and factors, before you do algebra, because much of algebra requires these as base concepts. Then the last part, which are smaller topics such as Venn diagrams and PNC. So these are things that have Venn diagrams. You will hardly be asked one question. It's important to know how to do it, but you don't need to put in a whole lot of time. Learn the concept, put in some time to solve, like say 10 20 questions, it should be fine. PNC has not directly been asked for quite some time, but and there's a major disclaimer here, PNC did recently come in the LRDI section, and it does come in enumeration type of questions, enumeration type of puzzles in LRDI. So it is very important that you are able to solve that, that you know the basics of PNC. So irrespective of whether or not you solve a whole lot of questions from PNC, it is absolutely essential that you understand what is a permutation, what is a combination, what is the formula for it, what are the formulas with repetition, without repetition, all of that you should be very, very thorough with. So essentially I will mark where you need a whole lot of practice, whole lot of practice over here, whole lot of practice over here, moderate amount of practice over here, this part is whole lot of practice or moderate amount of practice over here. Other parts of number system with like remainder theorems etc. ignore. PNC Venn diagrams, need not practice directly from PNC Venn diagrams. You can practice from the applications of it in LRDIs as such. So this is the basic this that you have to say that okay, this is the bare minimum I have to do. This is what I must do, this is what I should do, and this is something that is can do but not a must as such. So once you have that list in front of you, you can then make your own schedule. Remember, even when you are following our schedule, also make sure that if you are sometimes skipping a concept or skipping a test, do not skip tests from arithmetic, algebra or geometry. Always take those particular tests. They are extremely important. Now let's take a look at what should be your strategy for LRDI. See, LRDI, the way we teach LRDI is basically for each type of LRDI, we give a representation format. So what we have done is basically said that okay, fine, these are the LRDIs that have come in the last 5 years or so. So you have LRDIs based on arrangement, you have LRDIs based on say team selection, then you have scheduling, roots and networks, enumeration based puzzles. Puzzles are huge as such. So puzzles may be enumeration based or Einstein's puzzle. So many kind of different types of puzzles come. Then you have roots and networks. Then you have this is for LR. You have for DI, the biggest is basically table based DI, and table based DI might have missing data, might have data over years, cumulative data. So we have looked at each of these different types of LR and DI sets that have come. We have said okay, these are the different types. We have made videos for each of these types, and the basic thing that we teach over here is basically what is the representation format for each of these types. So what I want you to do is, even if you are not a premium student of Krakow, just take a look at what are the different types of LR and DI sets that we have identified. So you have quant based LR, quant based DI. So just make a list of the different types of DI and LR sets. They are available for free on our site. You can just go through it and see. In the study room we have questions for each of these types, and we have said okay, these are the different types, and for each of these types we have said okay, for LRs these are the different types that have come. And for in our videos we discuss the representation format for each of these types. So for example, when you are say solving scheduling, I follow a graphical method for solving, where I take time along the horizontal x-axis and the tasks along the negative y-axis, and I draw essentially out whatever tasks have to be done. This is the representation format I follow for scheduling. It helps me a lot when it comes to scheduling. Similarly, for arrangement, different types of arrangement will have different representation formats. So firstly, in LRDI, first basic biggest rock is, firstly you have to identify how to represent logical information. So you have these logical operands, okay, which are like and, or, not, how to draw chains, how to draw structures as such. So you have to first think that for every kind of DIL set, I should know exactly how to represent the information. So you should know what is logical representation of information, and you should know the representation format for each type of LR set and DI set. And once you know that, basically what you have to do is, basically you have to then say that, okay, I want to solve based on the number of times each has come, I want to solve like 10 times the number of times it has come. So arrangement, every year you will get around 2 types of arrangement kind of puzzles in each slot. So say that if there are 2 types of arrangement puzzles, and I should at least solve 20 sets on arrangement. That is the bare minimum. In fact, you should solve much more, but you should have at least 20 LR sets you should do in arrangement. Team selection also you should solve a few. Scheduling, at least 5 to 10 you should solve. Similarly, puzzles come very often, you should solve at least 30 to 40 of them. Roots and networks have come in the last 2 CATs, they have come 1 set each, so you should solve at least 20 of them. So 10 should be fine. So essentially each of these says, okay, these are my different topics, and how many of these have I actually solved, each of these type, how many have I solved. So you should say, okay, this is the list, this is the representation format I should follow, and these are the number of sets of each type that I have solved. So make sure that you have an idea of different types of sets that actually come. You know exactly how you are going to tackle them. So your representation strategy of or like how you represent information is your strategy to handle that particular LR set or particular DI set. So you should have a strategy in mind, and you should have practice. So each type of set you should solve different types of that particular subtype many times. Then you will be prepared for that particular set. In general, DILR tends to be a mixed bag. Sometimes you know exactly how to solve a question, sometimes you are just completely nonplussed. But what you should remember is that if you have some idea how to solve arrangement questions with even slight amount of modifications, you will be able to solve just on the basis of the fact that you have some basic competency in arrangement questions. So make sure that you identify the different types of sets and solve questions from each type as such. Now we come to the last section, which is VARC. And in fact, of all the sections that we discussed till now, VARC is the toughest as far as building competency when it comes to building competency in just 3 months. The reason for this is that just think of it as the entire section just tests one skill, okay, one skill throughout, whether it is RC, whether it is para jumbles, whether it is para summary. It tests one skill and one skill only, which is your comprehension skills. And how does comprehension skill come about? It comes from reading. You do loads and loads of reading, and once you do a lot of reading, you quickly start to understand the point of each paragraph as such. A lot of people think that comprehension skill is basically your ability to speak very good grammar, grammatically correct English, or very good English. Those who go to very good English schools are able to do well in verbal section or VARC section. That is not true. The people who do well in VARC sections are those who have very good comprehension skills, and in fact comprehension skills are extremely positively correlated to your skills in the quant section. If you are good in quant section, you will be good in comprehension skills. A lot of students who come from vernacular medium feel that they will not be able to do well in VARC. That is not true at all. If you are a smart guy, if you do well in quant, you will be able to do well in VARC because your comprehension or your understanding skills are good. Now the tough part comes in basically using those logical reasoning skills in things where your passages are given, because your reading skills are poor. So over time, whenever I say that you have to prepare for VARC, I always say, whether you are starting from December or May, is that you have to read, and you have to read every day, and you have to put in a lot of time to read. And after you have read a lot of content, then your reading skills are actually developed. Think of it as muscles. You have to keep working at it for a very long time for them to develop. Now since you have 3 months left, you have very little time to actually develop those that reading ability as such. So that means that you're going to have to read a lot, and you have to read consistently every day, and you have to read a lot. So start with 2 articles every day and 1 RC set. Without fail, if you do this and do this properly, I'll tell you exactly the method also you have to follow in this. If you do this well, you will be building serious competency in VARC section. Now, how do you actually do it properly? It's not enough to just read it. You have to do active reading. So what do I mean by active reading? Active reading, I mean that every time you read a passage, you have to read and summarize the main point of each paragraph that you have read. So if you read 3 paragraphs, you should have 3 main points written down. Don't say it in your head, you should write it down, because the moment you start writing things down, you know exactly that I can't properly write it down in words what exactly is meant by this paragraph, because it is very difficult to crystallize a paragraph into one line. It is difficult to form the summary of each paragraph or the main point of each paragraph, because it is very difficult to crystallize an entire paragraph into one clear point. But this is the exact thing that you need to do. This is the exact thing that is being tested. Your ability to understand the main point of each paragraph. That is comprehension skills. Essentially understanding what is the main point of this paragraph. If you are able to do it, you will sail through VARC. If you are not able to do it, you will struggle with VARC. So make sure that you do 2 articles. Minimum 2 articles. I would say 1 article, 1 essay from a long form essay from a magazine, and 1 RC set is a must if you are starting now. Just keep reading. If you are already in the habit of reading regularly, very good. It will just help you a lot in doing this. If you are not in the habit of reading, does not matter, start now and make sure you put in a lot of time reading. This should be something you can read any time of the day. You can read in your you can read while going to work, you can read while coming back from work. Do it at some point of time. You have to say that this is from this time to this time is my reading time. I'm going to read these many things, and I'm going to note down the main point of each paragraph as I read. So that is basically what I want you to do for VARC. Active reading. I'll put it as just 3 sources, or from 3 articles, essays, RCs as such. This is something that you have to finish every single day. Now, I want you to also, because I put RC also because now you have just 3 months in your hand, you have to start practicing. So I want every one of you to solve 1 RC set a day. There is no other way of building comprehension skills. You have to solve RC sets. So you should solve 1 RC set a day. We have daily target. So we have a section called daily target. In the daily target, we put 5 quant questions, 1 DILR set and 1 RC set. So if you are looking for an easy way for practicing this, just take the RC set that is there in the daily target. Now, since if you are just say starting out, just make sure that you focus on the different types of reading comprehension passages that come, because a lot of times when you read opinion articles, they are going to be mostly persuasive articles or politics based articles. You won't see a whole lot of science based articles or like informative articles or history based articles. That's why I put essays, because in actual CAT you will get a lot of informative RCs. Informative RCs are RCs from science based RCs or history based RCs, basically just informing you about things. For example, there was an RC about maps. How did North come to be at the top of maps? Now this is like a fairly not something that you would generally see in newspapers. So if you read only newspapers, you will see only a particular type of RCs. You won't see the whole gamut of RCs that you can reasonably expect in CAT. So you should read from a wide variety of sources. Read from essays. Essays like for example, the New Yorker magazine, and you have scientific magazines like the Scientific American. So read from various different sources so that you have a exposure to different types of passages that can come. Now you might think that I'm focusing only on RC as such, but the thing is that if you're very good at RC, you will be good at PJs and you will be good at summary as well, because all of them are related to the same skill. In Parajumbles, in addition, after you do your basic competency in RC, you should learn how to actually connect different sentences. There are many tools that you can use to solve Parajumbles which go beyond comprehension skills, such as grammar tools, understanding the ordering of sentences based on connector words. So all of this we have covered, but in the that is essentially an additional help that you that will actually help you in solving para jumbles properly. In para summary, you have to basically the same skill that you have learnt in for reading comprehension, you should just refine for para summary. Para summary should be where you have like zero scope for distortion or error as such in para summary. So this is the basic strategy you should follow for each section. Now that you have 3 months in hand, very simple. What you have to focus on in VARC, it's very simple. In VARC, you have to focus on RCs. If you get that right, that's 24 out of 34 questions. Very it's crucial. There's no place to hide from RCs. You have to do well in reading comprehension to do well in VARCs as such. So now that you know exactly what to do for the next 3 months, I need you to please go and make your study plan today. Print it out, put it in front of you, or you can write it down also and put it in front of you. But please make sure that you have a plan ready and you start studying today. If you are looking for guidance, if you want somebody to give you the plan made for you, and if you want that all the videos that you need, all the concepts that you need, all the tests that you need should be given to you directly, please take a look at Crackoo's courses. We make short-term batches. In the short-term batches, you are given a schedule. Each day we will tell you what tasks you have to do. So each task will be basically watching a concept video, taking a concept test, and solving a few questions. Over the weekends, we give mocks to solve and study room questions to solve. So study room is our question bank. So essentially, we make sure that you have all the concepts cleared, the learning part is done, and the practice part is also done. So always make sure that you not only are watching and viewing and seeing videos, but you are practicing adequately. And we have a huge bank of questions. We have like over 15,000 questions. So we'll make sure that you are adequately covered in terms of practice for all topics as such. So thank you for tuning in, and I hope you make the best use of the next 3 months. Thank you.